The Awakening. For 3 centuries, humanity's place in the galactic order had been decided for them. The Concordat, a union of advanced civilizations spanning 12,000 star systems, regarded Earth as little more than a cosmic curiosity, a primitive world with creatures who had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. From their gilded halls on the ringed world of Thessia Prime, the Concordat's ruling hegemony had designated Earth as a Class 4 civilization, technologically functional but politically fractured, culturally immature, and militarily negligible. The classification came with strict limitations on territorial expansion, technological advancement, and trade rights. Humanity could participate in the galactic community, but only as servants, never equals. Ambassador Helena Reyes stood at the observation deck of the orbital station Artemis, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath her. The blue-green jewel, home to 11 billion souls, appeared so peaceful from this distance, but appearances were deceiving. For 20 years, Helena had served as Earth's chief diplomat to the Concordat, enduring countless humiliations and rejections with a practiced smile. "Transmission incoming from the Hegemony Council, Ambassador," said Lieutenant Commander Kai Chen, her aide and security chief. Helena steeled herself, straightening her midnight blue uniform adorned with a single silver pin, Earth's emblem of unity. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Archon Zulvash, the Letheri representative, who led the Hegemony Security Commission. Ambassador Reyes, the Archon's voice rasped through the translator, his 4 eyes narrowing in what Helena recognized as contempt. "The Hegemony has reviewed your petition for the 3rd time. The Council finds no reason to reconsider humanity's classification or territorial limitations." Helena maintained her diplomatic mask. "Archon, I believe our documentation clearly demonstrates." "Your documentation demonstrates nothing but your species' persistent delusions of grandeur," Zulvash interrupted. "Furthermore, the Council has received concerning reports of unusual activity near your Mars colony. Any unsanctioned military buildup would constitute a direct violation of the Concordat Charter. I assure you, Archon, our Mars operations are purely scientific and within our. The Hegemony is dispatching an inspection fleet to verify compliance. They will arrive within 2 standard cycles. You would be wise to ensure all is in order." The Archon's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "After all, we wouldn't want Earth to suffer the same fate as the Virel." Their rebellion was instructive for the rest of the galactic community. The transmission ended abruptly. Helena's diplomatic veneer cracked, her fist slamming against the console. "They're coming to Mars," Kai said quietly. 2 days isn't much time." Helena's gaze hardened. "It's enough. Send the message to command. 1 word only. Genesis." Across Earth and its colonies, the word Genesis triggered a cascade of secure communications and encrypted commands. In deep underground facilities, secret orbital shipyards hidden within asteroid fields, and camouflaged bases across the solar system, systems that had been on standby for years began powering up. General Adeyemi Okafor, Supreme Commander of Earth's Unified Defense Force, stood in the heart of Olympus Command, a massive complex buried beneath the Mariana Trench. Around him, the command center hummed with controlled urgency as officers and technicians executed their long-rehearsed roles with precision. "All fleet elements reporting ready, sir," reported Admiral Zhao. "Operation Silent Ascension is green across all theaters." The general nodded, his weathered face revealing nothing. "How long have we waited for this day, Admiral?" "Nearly 15 years of preparation, sir." "No," Okafor corrected. 300 years, since the day they arrived and decided our place in the cosmos." He turned to face the enormous tactical display. "Begin Phase 1. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, what appeared to be ordinary mining installations suddenly transformed. Massive sections of rock slid apart, revealing sleek warships unlike anything Earth had ever publicly fielded. Each vessel bore the mark of Project Prometheus, humanity's secret weapon in a galaxy that had underestimated them for far too long. The U.S. Retribution, flagship of the First Strike Fleet, disengaged from its concealment dock. On its bridge, Captain Elara Kincaid watched as her officers reported systems online. "All vessels reporting combat ready, Captain," said Commander Jackson, her XO. "The fleet awaits your command." Elara nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars that had once seemed so unreachable. The hegemony built their empire on the backs of species they deemed inferior. They've spent centuries telling us we're too weak, too divided, too human to matter. She paused. They've never faced a species that thrived on being underestimated. The Retribution's engines flared to life, followed by 30 other warships of varying classes. The First Strike Fleet moved into formation, then vanished into FTL jumps nearly twice as fast as what Concordat regulations permitted Earth vessels to achieve. In the Sirius system, home to the Lethari primary fleet base, alarms suddenly blared across the massive installation. Defensive systems activated as sensors detected unknown vessels materializing from FTL, but the response came too late. The human fleet emerged with perfect precision, weapons already hot. Concentrated plasma lances, technology the hegemony believed humans couldn't possibly possess, struck with surgical accuracy, disabling the base's primary shield generators and communication arrays within seconds. "All targets neutralized," reported Lieutenant Sato from Tactical. "Base defenses are offline. Their fleet elements are still in dock and powered down." Captain Kincaid stood from her command chair. "Open a channel to the base commander." The view screen flickered to show a Lethari officer, his chidness face displaying unmistakable shock. This is impossible. Human vessels are not capable of." "This is Captain Elara Kincaid of the Earth vessel Retribution. Your defensive systems have been disabled. Your fleet is neutralized. You will surrender your installation immediately." Surrender? To humans. The Lethari commander's translator couldn't hide his incredulity. "The hegemony will obliterate your world for this transgression." Ilara's expression didn't change. "We no longer recognize the hegemony's authority over Earth or humanity. As for obliteration," she nodded to her communications officer, who transmitted a signal. On the view screen, the Lethari commander received the data packet, his 4 eyes widening as he processed what he was seeing. "Yes," Elara continued. "While this fleet engaged your base, 12 other human battle groups have simultaneously struck key Concordat military installations across the galaxy. The Rigel Depot, the Arcturus Command Center, the Proxima shipyards, all neutralized." "Impossible," the Lethari whispered. "Your kind doesn't possess this level of coordination or firepower." "What we didn't possess was the hegemony's permission to defend ourselves. We no longer require it." Elara leaned forward. "For 3 centuries, the Concordat has treated Earth as an afterthought. That ends today." On Thessia Prime, the Hegemony Council was in chaos. Reports flooded in from across Concordat space, simultaneous precision strikes against military installations, all executed by human forces that weren't supposed to exist. "How is this possible?" demanded Archon Zulvash, his composure shattered. "Their technology is monitored. Their shipyards are inspected. Their system is constantly under surveillance." First Arbiter Telmre, the ancient Medusan who had served on the Council for over a century, spoke with unusual gravity. "It appears our surveillance had blind spots." "This is beyond mere blind spots," countered Diplomat Sori of the Vexari Collective. "This represents a complete intelligence failure. The humans have somehow developed military technology far beyond their classification level and assembled a fleet in secret." The council chamber fell silent as a priority transmission cut through their debate. The holographic projector activated to reveal Ambassador Helena Reyes. Behind her stood General Okafor. "Archon Zulvash, members of the hegemony," Helena began, her voice calm but carrying an edge none had heard before. By now you're aware that Earth has taken military action across Concordat space. This is an act of war, Zulvash roared. The Concordat will. The Concordat will listen, Helena interrupted, something no human diplomat had ever dared to do. For 300 years, we have endured your patronizing limitations, your economic constraints, and your military restrictions. We have watched as you exploited our world while denying us a seat at the table. General Okafor stepped forward. Every installation we've targeted has been disabled, not destroyed. Every base commander has been offered the same terms. Stand down, and no lives will be lost. You cannot possibly believe your species can stand against the full might of the Concordat, Telmer said, his voice echoing with age and authority. We don't have to, Helena replied. We've just demonstrated that we can strike anywhere in your territory without warning. But that's not all. She nodded to someone off-screen, and the transmission shifted to show an orbital view of a massive space station, unlike any the Council had seen before. This is Sentinel Station, General Okafor explained. One of 7 we've constructed in secret. Each houses a Prometheus array, a weapon system capable of targeting and destroying vessels in FTL, something your scientists still insist is theoretically impossible. The Council chamber erupted in denials and outrage, but the evidence before them was undeniable. Earth is not declaring war on the Concordat, Helena stated once the chaos subsided. We are declaring our independence from it. Effective immediately, Earth and all human colonies are withdrawing from the Concordat and establishing the Terran Alliance as a sovereign power. You cannot simply, Zulvash began. We already have, Helena cut him off. A data packet is being transmitted to your systems. It contains the full capabilities of our military forces and defensive installations. It also includes our terms for peaceful coexistence. The transmission shifted back to General Okafor. The hegemony has one standard day to acknowledge our independence and begin withdrawal of all Concordat forces from Terran space. After that, any military presence will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. As the transmission ended, the Hegemony Council sat in stunned silence. The species that had been dismissed as primitive for centuries had just executed the most coordinated military operation in recent galactic history. This changes everything, Telmera finally said, his ancient voice heavy with realization. In Earth orbit, Helena Reyes watched her homeworld from the command deck of Sentinel Station. After decades of diplomatic humiliation, humanity had finally spoken in a language the galaxy would understand. Do you think they'll agree to our terms? Kai asked. Helena's gaze remained fixed on Earth. They don't have a choice. The message has been sent. You chose to treat us as insignificant. Now learn how we respond. The Reckoning. The Thessia Prime orbital docks, once a symbol of the Concordat's unrivaled dominance, now trembled with frantic activity. Warships from a dozen species hastily prepared for deployment. Supply vessels rushed critical resources to frontline worlds, and diplomatic shuttles darted between the surface and the Armada assembling above. Inside the Grand Spire, the hegemony's seat of power, the Council chamber had been in continuous session for 20 hours. The immaculate marble-like floor was littered with discarded data tablets, and the air recyclers struggled to disperse the mingled pheromones of stress and fear emanating from the assembled representatives. The human ultimatum expires in 4 hours. First Minister Galsha of the Votheri announced, her crystalline voice cutting through the din. We must formulate our response. Archon Zulvash, his normally imposing presence diminished by exhaustion, gestured toward the tactical display dominating the center of the chamber. Our military assessment is complete. The human strikes were executed with precision we've not seen since the Nexus Wars. 17 key installations neutralized simultaneously, with minimal casualties but maximum strategic impact. They could have destroyed those bases, noted Admiral Kreloth of the Concordat Defense Fleet. Instead, they disabled them and allowed our personnel to evacuate. A show of restraint or confidence. What of the weapon they revealed? asked Sori of the Vexari. This Prometheus array that allegedly can target ships in FTL. Admiral Krylov's facial tentacles twisted in what his species considered a grave expression. Our science directorate initially dismissed it as impossible. However, the telemetry data from the Sirius base attack includes energy signatures we cannot explain. If the humans have indeed developed such technology, then no world in the Concordat is beyond their reach, finished First Arbiter Telnra. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The entire galactic order, carefully maintained for millennia, had been upended in a single day by a species they had relegated to irrelevance. How? Demanded Zolvash suddenly. How did they conceal this level of technological advancement? Our monitoring protocols were designed to watch for known threats, interrupted a new voice. All eyes turned to Dela Tuvash, the hegemony's chief intelligence director, who had just entered the chamber. The diminutive Iltharian rarely appeared before the full council, preferring to operate from the shadows. For 3 centuries, we've monitored human communications, inspected their facilities, and infiltrated their governments. Dela continued, approaching the central platform. Yet somehow, they built a fleet and weapons beyond our current capabilities. I spent the past day analyzing how this failure occurred. She activated her own data feed, replacing the tactical display with a complex network of connections. The humans didn't just develop technology. They created an entirely parallel infrastructure. When we inspected their Mars facilities, we saw exactly what they wanted us to see: outdated technology operating within approved parameters. A deception on this scale would require resources beyond their means, objected Minister Galsha. Not if they've been systematically underreporting their production capabilities for generations, Dela countered. Our estimates of human industrial capacity have been based on their official outputs. But what if those figures were deliberately manipulated? The implications rippled through the chamber. If humans had been concealing their true capabilities for centuries, every assessment the Concordat had made was suspect. There's more, Dela added, her voice dropping. We've detected unusual energy signatures from several supposedly uninhabited systems adjacent to human territory. I believe they've already expanded far beyond their official borders. The chamber erupted in alarmed discussions. Amidst the chaos, First Arbiter Telnra signaled for silence. The question before us is not how this happened, but how we respond, the ancient Medusan stated. We have 4 hours to determine whether the Concordat goes to war with humanity or recognizes their independence. Across the stars, on the bridge of the U.S. Retribution, Captain Ilara Kincaid received the latest fleet updates from her tactical officer. All strike groups report mission success, Captain. Minimal resistance encountered. The Concordat forces were completely unprepared. Ilara nodded, studying the strategic display. And the Sentinel stations. All 7 report operational status. The Prometheus arrays are calibrated and tracking all Concordat fleet movements. Commander Jackson approached with a secure data tablet. Latest intelligence from Thessia Prime. The Hegemony Council remains in emergency session. Their military forces are mobilizing, but there's significant disagreement about how to proceed. They're still trying to understand what happened, Ilara observed. How a species they've dismissed for centuries could suddenly emerge as a pure power. Or perhaps superior, added Jackson. The Prometheus array gives us a strategic advantage no one else possesses. Ilara's eyes narrowed. Don't confuse technology with superiority, Commander. That's the mistake they made with us. She turned to her communications officer. Status of the diplomatic channel. Maintained and secure, Captain. Ambassador Reyes can address the hegemony at any time. Before Ilara could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Lieutenant Sato at Tactical straightened abruptly. Captain, we're detecting multiple FTL signatures approaching the Arcturus checkpoint. Concordat signatures. Heavy cruisers. Primarily Lethari. It seems at least one faction has made their decision, Ilara noted grimly. Battle stations. Alert the Arcturus Defense Group and notify General Okafor. The Concordat is testing our resolve. The Lethari attack fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Arcturus system, energy weapons charging. Their commander, Admiral Zex Vueler, was Arkshan Zolvash's bloodkin and shared his contempt for humanity. He had convinced the Security Commission that a swift, overwhelming strike would force the humans back into submission. His flagship, the Dominion's Claw, led a formation of 30 warships, a force that would have overwhelmed any defense Earth could have mustered a week ago. All vessels in attack formation, reported his second. Human defenders consist of only 5 vessels of unknown configuration. Pathetic, Zex Vueler clicked in amusement. They exhausted their forces in their initial strikes. This rebellion ends today. He raised his primary limb. All vessels, engage and destroy. The Lethari fleet surged forward, and immediately alarms blared across every ship. Energy spike detected from the human vessels. His tactical officer shouted, "Configuration unknown. Weapons signature unlike anything in our database." Before the admiral could respond, space itself seemed to distort around his fleet. A rippling wave of blue-white energy expanded from the human vessels, engulfing the Lethari formation. Aboard the Dominion's Claw, systems failed in cascading sequence. Propulsion, weapons, shields, even life support flickered and died. The 30 mighty warships of the Lethari attack fleet drifted powerless, their crews scrambling in emergency suits. On Admiral Zex Vueler's darkened bridge, a holographic transmission activated, the only system still functioning. Captain Ilara Kincaid's face appeared before him. "Admiral Zex Vueler, your vessels have been neutralized by a Casimir field disruptor, another technology your scientists claimed was theoretical. Your life support will fail completely in approximately 6 hours. Escape pods remain functional." The admiral seethed with rage. "You dare." "I dare nothing," Ilara interrupted. "You brought warships into territory we clearly designated as sovereign. You intended to destroy us without warning or declaration. Yet here you drift, alive, with time to evacuate." Her expression hardened. "Remember this moment, Admiral. Remember that humanity chose restraint when we could have chosen annihilation." The transmission ended, leaving Zex Vueler in darkness, his mighty fleet reduced to drifting hulks by weapons he couldn't comprehend. On Thessia Prime, the news of the Lethari fleet's defeat reached the Hegemony Council, just as their deliberations reached a critical point. The chamber fell silent as Admiral Krylov delivered the report. 30 vessels, our most advanced warships, disabled without a single shot fired. The Admiral's voice was hollow. "The humans employed technology we've only theorized about." First Arbiter Telnra turned to Arkshan Zolvash. "You authorized this attack without council approval." "We needed to show strength." Zolvash protested. "The humans cannot be allowed to. The humans have just demonstrated that our strongest military response is ineffective." Telnra cut him off. "Your unilateral action has only proven their technological superiority." Before Zolvash could respond, the chamber's central communication array activated. Ambassador Helena Reyes appeared, flanked by General Okafor and a team of human officials. "Hegemony Council," Helena began, her voice calm but unyielding. "Your ultimatum response window closes in 30 minutes. The attack against our forces at Arcturus suggests your answer, but I am authorized to hear your final decision." First Arbiter Telnra moved to the center of the chamber. "Ambassador Reyes, the attack on your forces was unauthorized and does not represent the Council's decision." He straightened to his full height. "The Hegemony Council recognizes the independence of Earth and its colonies as the Terran Alliance. We accept your terms for mutual withdrawal of forces." Murmurs of shock and outrage rippled through the chamber, but none dared challenge the First Arbiter's authority. "A wise decision, First Arbiter," Helena replied. "General Okafor will coordinate with Admiral Krylov on the withdrawal protocols. As a gesture of good faith, we have already dispatched rescue vessels to the Lethari fleet at Arcturus." As the transmission ended, the reality of the new galactic order settled over the Council. The species they had dismissed for centuries had risen to become perhaps the dominant power in known space. "How did we not see this coming?" whispered Minister Galsha. First Arbiter Telnra's ancient eyes seemed to look far beyond the chamber walls. "Because we chose to see what confirmed our biases. We saw humans as primitive because it justified our treatment of them. We never considered that a species that survived its own violent history might be uniquely suited to survive ours." 1 month later, Ambassador Helena Reyes stood before the newly formed Terran Alliance Council in the Grand Chamber built beneath Mount Kilimanjaro. Representatives from every human world and colony had gathered to witness the formal Declaration of Independence. For 3 centuries, Helena began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. Humanity accepted limitations imposed by others. We were told our place in the galaxy, told what we could build, where we could go, how we could govern ourselves. Today, we reclaim our destiny. She activated a holographic display, showing the Terran Alliance's new borders, including dozens of previously undisclosed colony worlds. Our emergence as a galactic power was not achieved through brutality or conquest, but through patience, innovation, and unity. When the moment came to demonstrate our strength, we chose precision over destruction, restraint over vengeance. General Okafor stepped forward. "The Concordat underestimated us because they saw only our past. They failed to recognize that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to overcome, to transform adversity into advantage." Helena nodded. "The message we sent echoes across the stars. You chose to dismiss us. Now learn what we have become." Outside the chamber, beyond Earth's atmosphere, the 7 Sentinel stations maintained their silent watch. Humanity had finally claimed its rightful place among the stars, not through permission granted, but through power earned and wisdom demonstrated. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.